social life is crazy because I want to see my friends. It's really hard to have friends right now. We have to like make sure we FaceTime each other or just like give like a text like, hey, how have you been? Because we haven't talked in like 2 months.
Her life has shrunk so greatly, just basically to her bedroom in the house.
Being basically locked in your room all day, doing schoolwork, it's just very stressful to look at a computer all day and then do 2 hours of homework and then eat dinner and then go to sleep exhausted.
I love books, but I can't sit down and just stay in one spot and just read, you know. So I think there has been trouble, and I've had trouble sleeping, and sometimes I still have trouble sleeping. I tend to be a worrier by nature anyway, so.
The ability to focus has certainly been a challenge.
The biggest thing that it's done is it's made me realize how much social pressure seeing people in person is a really good thing for our health. I've noticed that if I'm not seeing people for 5 days in a row, I am forcing myself to shower, I'm forcing myself to brush my teeth. You know, I am oftentimes forcing myself to change clothes. You know, keeping up basic health routines and hygiene is one of those things that takes conscious effort at this point.
Mental health is your ability to manage your emotional, physical, cognitive state of mind. It is being aware of your thoughts, being aware of your emotions, and being aware of your behaviors and how those all intertwine. And your ability to manage that and recognize that sometimes they do go out of whack, sometimes they are more severe than others depending upon factors.
So talking through a therapist really helps because they're kind of like removed from the situation. They aren't your family, they aren't your friend. And sometimes it just helps to vent and just say, this really sucks and I'm going to talk about it for an hour. And they're going to say, yeah, it does suck and we're all going through this. It really helps to know that it's not just like us going through this, like the entire world is going through this and that we all most likely have the exact same problems.
Early on, I actually sought counseling because my anxiety was really bad. I was having trouble sleeping and just wasn't rested. So it was basically just talking out a lot of my concerns because we tend to keep things bottled up. So just being able to like freely talk about that, no judgment, nothing. We went through like exercises I could do at home if I'm getting like worried or stressed about stuff. And then just kind of going with the motto, you know, I can't control what everybody else does, but I can control what I do and essentially what my kids do and how we keep ourselves safe and keep our families safe.
The biggest psychological change that I've noticed in myself since the beginning of the pandemic has been loneliness. And I am someone who is hyper social, and it's been really hard not seeing people, not being able to interact with people except through these, you know, electronic devices in our pockets.
Virtual doesn't cut it. Being together physically does make a difference, and I don't think I knew at the start how much impact that would have on me.
Now everybody views everybody else as a source of danger, or something could happen if we get too close. And also the wearing of the mask. You can't read people's emotions, you know, how they feel, or sometimes even recognize the people because you don't have all those cues.
I was considered essential and so many people were not, and that was a huge blessing for me, and I used that blessing to help other people through a really hard time because so many other people were suffering and were, you know, on the verge of losing their homes and their cars, And that was personally very hard for me. So we made sure to eat out, to tip well, donating, whether it's money, clothes, food, whatever we could do.
Something that I was worried about, I'm not worried about.
Things that I've learned since the pandemic was that addiction behaviors as a disease really doesn't go away, even though I've been in remission as soon as I was isolated in my apartment. The way my brain went, here I am 13 years in recovery, and all of a sudden I'm not accountable, except to myself, and people who have less recovery are even less accountable, going, there's nobody going to know. And I figured if my brain was going there after all this experience and all the coping skills and mechanics that I've acquired, what was going on with the people that I'm serving, which would, as I found out really rapidly, a lot. We were already in an epidemic. We were already in an addiction behavior epidemic wrapped in a pandemic. AA and NA meetings were suspended. They got up to speed virtually, but there was that gap there. You couldn't, that's a huge support system for people. All that went away. Not a lot of internet up in the mountains. There's not a lot of phone coverage. The homeless factor, somebody living in a tent. Your recovery family and your recovery community is kind of out of reach. Then I'm stuck with, how do I get a hold of this person? So I have to try to go visit where I can.
Over the course of time, I learned that there's a rise of domestic violence, especially when people are stuck at home and they're stuck at home with their abusers and they don't necessarily have those outlets and resources. So I created a blog. It's called Ogadan Na Isti, and that's Cherokee for We Are Ready. And it's to empower Indigenous voices to kind of share story about what it was like surviving domestic violence, just so people have a community and place to share. You know, we're in a pandemic, there's not really, we can't go and meet people, we've got to protect each other, but what can I do? And for me, the only thing I could do was create this blog, create a community for people to share, but in doing so, understanding that I have to be vulnerable as well. Just in dealing with the aftermath of surviving domestic violence, I just hope people know it's okay. It's okay to reach out, and if you need that help.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you.
Really good.
I'm a singer-songwriter, so that has really helped. Just like, even if it's putting a note in the note apps on my phone, just like get those emotions out and get it on paper. Throughout this whole COVID thing, me and my mom, we've never stopped doing horseback riding. We go every single Saturday, and it's all outside, it's all social distance, and that's the one thing that we have continued to do throughout this whole thing. So that's really helped, knowing that, like, that's the one stability thing that I have.
The one thing that has grown the most with me is I've grown farther more into my faith. It has definitely allowed me to really dive in and get closer to God, and I'm very thankful for that. And it's hard because, like, you have such a terrible time in the world, but I just truly believe that in all bad things comes good, and you just have to be willing to look for it because it's right there.